All right. Well, hi, it's Joanna from GSM Planet. I just wanted to say welcome to those of you who are joining us this afternoon. I really am so grateful to have some super interesting folks on the panel to talk with you all today, which is called The Truth About Textiles. Noel Asmar, President and CEO of Noel Asmar Group, who I've known for quite some time and who has really done a lot of work and given a lot of leadership to this topic. Kyle Berner, who's the founder of Feelgoodz, also have known Kyle for quite some time, who has really been an innovator in this space in terms of shoes and recycling. And then, of course, Will Simpson, who is with Green Circle Ideas, who I've known for about a year now, and who has really been lending leadership in the space of sustainability in the spa and wellness business. So thank you, Will, for taking that on. And thank you, Noel and Kyle, for joining us today for what I think is going to be a super interesting conversation. So thank you.
Thanks, Joanna.
I'm going to turn it over to you, Will.
Thank you. And Dara, are we recording here?
Yes.
We are. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody very much for taking the time. I know between your usual commitments and your summer commitments, it's a pretty busy time with a lot going on. So I appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. Textiles are such an interesting topic, and the group here has already spent hours talking about it offline because there's just so much to it. But zeroing in on how it impacts everybody here today, there are over 21,000 spas and over 375,000 spa techs operating today in the United States. When we consider what they wear, the materials they use, and the services they perform on a daily basis, I think we can appreciate the sheer volume of materials required in order for this industry to actually function day to day. Globally, the textile industry creates over 1.2 billion tons of CO2 equivalent emissions every year. And that, when you actually look at what that means, that's more than all international flights and all commercial shipping combined. So to say that the textile industry has a massive carbon footprint, I think is an understatement. According to the World Wildlife Fund's environmental rating and innovation report in 2017, known as Changing Fashion, 2.1 billion tons of textile waste get created every single year in the form of disposed clothing or offcuts, and only 20% of this actually gets recycled. So the clothing and textile industry is built on a really complex chain that includes many moving parts. There's the raw material manufacturers, there's the fiber and fabric producers, there are wet processors, garment assembly companies, brands, retailers, consumers, and then of course the disposal, or ideally the recycling agents. And within this complex chain, there are some serious environmental concerns. First of all, production creates local water impacts from water pollution and the high volume of water required for growing the raw materials and wet processing. Secondly, the textile industry, just by virtue of creating these materials, creates a lot of toxic chemicals, particularly in the processing, which often leads to severe damage to local water basins, to soil, and to biodiversity. And to make matters worse, the projected increase in global fashion consumption will create further stress. By 2030, the global clothing and textile industry is expected to use 50% more water, emit 63% more greenhouse gases, and produce 62% more waste compared to 2015. So in today's discussion, we're going to hear from Noel and Kyle on some of the uniqueness of textile manufacturing and how it affects these disparate groups. Both Noel and Kyle, I think, will share about the challenges that they've faced in product manufacturing, as well as how their experience in sustainable innovation has really overcome some of these challenges, as well as the areas that still need to be addressed. So in this session today, we're really aspiring to learn about the life cycle of materials, to discover solutions for repurposing and recovering textiles from service businesses specifically, and ultimately to help you to create an action plan to reimagine material waste. So with that, I want to invite Noel. So Noel, as you heard, is the president, CEO, and founder of Noel Asmar group of companies. Very diverse offering that I'd like to explore here. So Noel, maybe you can share with us how textiles sort of became part of your world.
Thanks, Will. Thanks. Well, I've met several of you that are on the end of this call, and just want to be mindful that, you know, so many of us are in the spa and hospitality area, and our reach, the whole industry, it's a global industry. So when we talk about textiles, normally we're talking about fashion. And fashion gets, you know, we've got a lot of data on fashion, and we have a great understanding of what's going on that end. But not so much in hospitality and in spa. We don't really understand the significance of the textile waste, nor do we talk enough about how can we create solutions for that. So when we started our company back in 2002, so 20 years ago, we were the first to do a spa uniform. You know, everybody was working with, you know, medical scrubs, any type of, you know, more medical type uniform, and we launched spauniforms.com at the time. Truly an insight on teams and how people move in the industry, gave us a real insight into some of the logistical challenges also within operations of spa and hospitality. And one of them certainly is, just to keep this conversation focused on our subject today, one of them is definitely yarns, textiles. If you think about the nature of our business, we need towels, we need blankets, we need sheets, we need uniforms, we need slippers. Sometimes they're disposable underwear. All these kind of products are just a byproduct of our operations. So I'm going to fast forward to 2019, and, you know, after doing, you know, I think we all would agree our intentions are great. We all want to do something to participate in making a difference. We all understand there's an abundance of work to do, but we're not sure what to do that's going to have the most impact. With every little effort counts. So we launched the first initiative, which is called the Hospitality Life Cycle. And that was, Hospitality Life Cycle was an initiative to create awareness to the spa and hospitality industry around, hey, just get the dialogue going. What's going on? What are you doing with all of your textiles when they're no longer suitable for daily use? Are you throwing them? Are you donating them? Have you found a way to recycle them? And we launched this actually at iSpa and at the Global Wellness Summit in Singapore. I flew there. The response was outstanding. The interest was very exciting. But the truth of the matter is, not one property took the initiative to move forward. And you know, our team really sat back and tried to dissipate what's the reason. You know, the intent is there. Is it just financial, or is it time? What holds us back from doing these things? We came to the conclusion, one of the ways we felt, well, we believe we can have the most significant impact, both for a company that wants to do good, as well as to help our customers, whom we know also want to do good, but we need to make it easier for them. So much like, Will, your business, you're making it easier for companies. You're creating a solution for them that is almost takes it off of their own hands, and it makes it easy. So, you know, over the course of 20 years, let me be honest, we've produced over 1 million yards of fabric. Like, this is a lot of fabric. Where does it go? And we were unsuccessful in having an impact on helping companies to recycle them. So through COVID, we had the opportunity, I want to say, to take a step back and look at what could we do long term. And I think this is part of this conversation today. What can we all do today? Create little micro plans that have macro results long term. So we started working with a couple of factories and labs overseas, Germany, Japan, and started working on engineering a yarn that replicated our existing signature spa fabric to actually bio and degrade in the soil once it hits the soil. So assuming that we can't guarantee that everybody's going to take those garments and recycle them, we can rest assured that if they don't and they end up in the landfills, over the course of 1 to 3 years, those will fully biodegrade without emitting harmful chemicals. That is peace of mind as a founder. That makes me feel like we can set ourselves up for success. But it's not easy, and we don't do it alone. And we need science, and we need technology, and we need partners like yourself to be able to pull off this very big mission to look backwards on product that's already out in the universe. And how do we create with circularity in mind, where we're designing in order to ensure that we are responsible designers and finding ways to ensure that fabric is also, or the end garment has a circular end plan. Yeah, does that kind of, yeah, give us a little bit of background on what we're doing in terms of sustainability? And of course, we have lots of recycled yarns. We look at where our raw materials come from, and to understand textiles and what goes into textiles, it's the raw materials. We keep taking raw resources from the earth, whether that's petroleum. Petroleum goes into polyesters and, you know, synthetic fibers. If you are moving to the second stage from raw materials to going to recycled, you are making a significant impact. You're no longer taking more raw materials. Then you want to look at how those materials are actually processed, and is it really toxic or isn't it? So we just can't expect our consumers to be the experts. All we can do is to help educate.
So Noel, understanding that, you know, we have a diverse group of audience members within GSM Planet. We've got manufacturers, we've got distributors, and then we've actually got the properties and property managers. For those that can't necessarily make the move yet to circular fabrics or don't have control over what's being sourced, can you explain a little bit more for people who are just hearing for the first time about hospitality life cycle? What is it that you were really envisioning through that Take Back initiative?
I highly recommend, if you really want to read in depth, it is on noelasmaruniforms.com. We have a whole section on hospitality life cycle. So there was an awareness campaign backed with a partnership with dbrand. dbrand is a company based in Vancouver. We are also based in Vancouver, Canada, that has partnerships with other recycling plants in the United States and in Canada, and they're doing a wonderful job recycling and finding ways for certain types of materials to find an end of life solution that can be upcycled. So it was a partnership. It was really around awareness. Again, it kicked off November of 2019, months before the lockdown. But hospitality life cycle, you know, it got a lot of coverage. Press were picking it up. People are interested. They're interested in finding the solutions. But in the end, as I shared with you, Will, offline, the challenges came to the cost. We were getting lots of inquiries, but of course there's a cost to get your products to the recycler, whichever recycling facility was closest to the property. And then there's a cost per pound to recycle it. So there is a cost. Let's say 1,000 pounds of textiles cost less than $500, less than $500. We were also starting to look for ways to create a dialogue with corporations at the corporate level. Once you get the buy-in from corporate level, often the conversation diverted to, how can we market this? So they want to do the right thing. You probably, as attendees on this call, are all looking for ways to like move the needle. So we have to look for also ways to market that whole thing. And we would say, you know, you spend $500 on a online small little ad, but $500 to be able to say you are recycling your goods. Your customers want to know this. Your corporate partners want to know this. Your financiers want to know this. I think there becomes a fiscal reason to do good. And we talk about, you know, B Corps, etc. There, you have to make money. It can't be totally out of pocket. So you just have to realign maybe your story so you can get buy-in from the people that are spending, that, you know, asking for the budget. Is there a question?
I think that's actually Katie from D-Brand is on the call. Hi, Katie.
Oh,
And I think she said reach out if you want to talk about this opportunity, which is fantastic. And Katie and I actually had a call just I think the other day, and this is absolutely something that's out there. And I think what you've kind of put the spotlight to, Noel, is this idea that 20% of the textiles being created and disposed of are actually being disposed of in a responsible manner. So some kind of recovery or recycling initiative. But ultimately, we have to come to terms with the fact that it is kind of mission critical if we're looking to align ourselves with a sustainable business platform. It's mission critical to find a solution for the end of life of these materials. The landfill simply won't work anymore.
No.
And there's when we look at the trend towards growing consumption, fast fashion, and ultimately a larger and larger footprint associated with these diverse materials, we know that it's kind of a one-way train to the landfill if we're not thinking more critically about how we're actually sourcing these things to begin with.
And legislation is changing. Legislation is going to catch up and will start impacting just the way you're allowed to operate. So right now it's kind of in our hands, and it's the greater communities are trying to do good work, but it'll eventually become legislated and it'll be regulated.
So Noel, for those manufacturers who are listening in and who kind of want to be inspired about this idea of changing their formulations in advance of that regulation, can you tell us a little bit about how you replaced your mainline threads?
Oh my, it is such a process, and it's not a quick one. So you can be patient. It's customer first, actually, at the end of the day. Your customers, you've built a customer base that rely on you to produce, reliably and sustainably and consistently. That's the word I'm looking for. So we couldn't change the product. They just need replicate uniforms, and we replenish uniforms. So understanding your customer is one thing, but going to work with mills, whatever type of product, whether you're in plastics or in fabrics or whatever your business is, you need to look for certified business partners, companies that are regulated, that can provide proof. There's a lot of companies out there saying they're doing things, and ask for proof. So I think you're learning. I think the honest truth is you have to get out and do your own research. It's going to meet with a lot of companies, see who fits with your own ethos. And when it comes to anything chemical related or end of cycle, I don't think it's one person's going to be answering that question for you, which is why, for example, we work consistently with D-Brand as Noel Asmar Group. If we have goods that need to be recycled, that we can't find anything else to do with them, well, we work with a trusted partner such as D-Brand to do that for us. In fact, I know we're doing that this week. So these are ongoing. We all need to just be proactive. And when you're, I don't know, if you're in plastics, I probably wouldn't be a great resource for that. But if you're in yarns, yarns are mostly being produced overseas, unless you're going with natural fibers, which is a little bit limited in North America, but you still need an end of life program for that. So it's heavily based on the type of yarns you're working with. What do you envision as the end result? Is it a circularity? Are you after trying to find the full end of life cycle for your product, or are you just looking to get recycled materials? So it just depends on what you're looking to do. And there's a lot of research out there. I believe we need to be more connected to the scientific community, because it's the science that's driving the innovation. And if you can partner up, be, for lack of a better word, the guinea pig for science, that you're willing to try fabrics and test things for them, get things into the marketplace for a year to be able to provide data. If you can be part of the science wheel, that's amazing. That's amazing. And don't wait for the perfect solution. I think that's another thing we learned too, is, it took us a long time. It took us 3 years to finally get where we wanted to be. might not get everything you want out of it. I think you just need to be flexible.
And I recall you sharing with me that you were impressed by the science, like there was far more in development that you had realized, and that it's always evolving, right? So where you're at right now isn't necessarily where you're going to be in a couple of years, but as you said, you have to kind of get your product out there and move towards something better.
So this yarn that we've gone with, it's been in a compostable environment. It's 360 days underground, and it's degraded 41.1%. Over 24 months, it went up to 55%, and the science is still happening. So we've taken the leap. That's good enough for us to say we're moving forward. The science is there. We're going to support them. And as we tweak, and we know our product is high quality and delivering the end of life result we're after, I think you just need to partner with companies that are doing, because ultimately we're not the ones really doing all of that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Noel. We're going to do a Q&A in a few minutes. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them into the chat box, and we can address those as well.
Thanks,
Thank you. And now let's move on to Kyle Berner, founder and president, CEO, chief bottle washer at Feelgoodz. Kyle, I think that your story is so inspiring. So I would love for you to share with everybody how you came about creating your own line of sustainable footwear.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Will. So Feelgoodz was born out of my time backpacking in Thailand. While backpacking, my flip-flops busted, and I discovered a pair of flip-flops that were made from natural rubber, tapped from rubber trees in southern Thailand. I was first struck by the quality and the comfort of the product. I've been a flip-flop guy my whole life. Knew there was something different, wanted to know why, and discovered that there was this entire world, this microeconomy of natural rubber and rubber farmers in southern Thailand. And so I was really struck by the fact that I could potentially bring a product to life, something that I loved, which was a flip-flop, and I could bring it to the world in a unique way, and sort of, tell the story of the farmer, and then tell the story of the material. So really the mission of Feelgoodz became kind of twofold, which is what's now called the Artisan Project, which basically we tell the story about the farmer or the artisan behind the product that we make. Our line now is very diverse. It started out with just a flip-flop, and now we have everything from flip-flops to slippers and knitwear and many other products, but we've kept the DNA intact. And the other side is the sort of thoughtful material side, which was, let's just think through like how we best can make the product with the most thoughtful, sustainable materials that we can. So whether it's premium natural rubber, or whether it's recycled tires, or whether it's yoga mats, or whether it's recycled rice husks or woven fabrics, we really try when we go to create our products to keep the sort of two pillars of the mission intact. So Feelgoodz was born with that DNA, and I just started whatever it was 12 years ago, and haven't stopped since. And kind of along the way, was introduced to the spa world, and Green Spa Network was our introduction to the industry. Some people from affiliated with Green Spa Network came by our booth at a Natural Products Expo and said, "Hey, we think that your brand would really resonate in this market. What you stand for, the type of products that you offer, we think there's a need for this." And so our introduction to the industry was with Green Spa Network in 2019 in Carefree, Arizona. And while there, just speaking with the spa directors, the various spa directors in the industry, talking through what the challenges and needs are particularly with the type of footwear item, which is really what our expertise is. And so, learning that, a sustainable alternative for a back bar slipper solution kind of came to light. And then it was like, all right, how do we do that? That we didn't have it, created, but, in our time of building Feelgoodz and building our product line, one of the things I've always done since the beginning is travel to our manufacturers and learn about the processes, and and through all of that, learn that there's a lot of excess materials that happen in footwear production, excess waste. And so in sort of creating this sustainable spa slide, learn that in Vietnam particularly, which is the country that we chose to do this out of, something like, I don't know, like 400,000 tons of motorcycle tire waste annually, just in Vietnam alone, which equates to something like 25 million motorcycle tires. I don't know if you've ever been to Vietnam, but there's just like motorcycles like everywhere. It's wild. So come to find out that we could repurpose that and essentially use it on the outsole of the product. And so, are we reclaiming 25 million motorcycle tires? No, not even close, but it's something that felt good to us and aligned with our thoughtful materials portion of our mission. And then, being able to reuse 100% reclaimed excess materials in footwear production to make this sustainable spa slide was something that felt really good to us on the production side. And then trying to match that with needs of spa directors, where is it non-slip? Is it easy to clean? Is it this? Is it that? Is it durable? Can I wash it 1,000 times? All those different things, and trying to to marry the needs and the quality with being able to produce it. And so we created that and brought it to life at iSpa, and then had a few key partners come on board. Kate Morrison at Ojai was our first partner, and she's been really a hero for us with this program. And then along the way, sort of always knowing that it would be great to find a sort of a closed loop solution to this, right? I feel great about the zero waste in the production side, but what happens on the other end? And then enter Will Simpson, and Green Spine Network. What was it last year, 2021?
Yeah, Ojai Valley.
We have been thinking about a recycling solution for this, and there's Will. And essentially work together to create, a spa slide recycling program for spas and resorts. So it's still very much in its infancy, but like Noel said, you got to start somewhere, right? Just do your part and bring it to life. And are we solving a global solution? No, but we are doing our part, and it feels good and it aligns with the Feelgoodz DNA. So that's kind of where we are, and we want to bring this message of sustainability to the industry, and which is and GSN has been the perfect platform to do that. Yeah, very cool.
So perfect segue there, Kyle. So the Feelgoodz Take Back program that you mentioned, it isn't a perfect solution, but it's something. And like you said, we're not recovering 25 million tires from motorcycles. Maybe one day we'll get to 24 million, but ultimately it's about what are we doing and putting in place that we can then improve on in a continual improvement kind of approach. And so this is what Green Circle actually did with PPE. So in 2020, around the time when Noel was introducing hospitality life cycle, we were simultaneously trying to solve the problem of this mountain of waste that was being generated as a result of the pandemic. And so all of these single-use masks that were being worn once, discarded, and ultimately ending up in our landfills and in our parks and in our oceans, we knew that there needed to be a better alternative. And so we looked at what we were already doing with non-recyclable spa waste, things like popsicle sticks and wax strips and gloves and any number of single-use items that touch the spa technician or the guest once and then would end up in the landfill, we had already created a program to turn that into clean energy. So in a closed loop incineration system, taking that material, converting it into steam heat, and then putting it through a conversion process so that it actually becomes energy that goes into our grid and powers our homes and our businesses. That program became, we sort of pivoted when salons and spas were shut down, and we turned that into the PPE recovery initiative. And I'm really pleased to say that now we have hospitals, we have banks, we have all different groups that have been recovering their PPE since the start of the pandemic. When Kyle and I met in Ojai, he mentioned that, he had this super sustainably sourced product, but the challenge was, the spa slides, when they start to break down, they still are ending up in the landfill. And that's when we looked at this and thought, there may be an opportunity here. And sure enough, we've been able to create this opportunity where when the spa properties purchase a certain number of Feelgoodz slides, they're then eligible to get a free take back box. The slides get put into the box, they get sent back to Green Circle. And then just like with spa waste and PPE, we have a waste to energy recovery solution. Now, what's really cool is that since we launched the PPE recovery initiative, we actually have been able to improve on that. And we've been able to source a new solution, which takes that PPE and instead of incinerating it as an end of life solution, those masks are being sterilized. The different component parts are being removed. The mask material, the main cutout, then gets shredded and pelletized and turned back into plastic materials. So it can be melted down and turned into new post-consumer materials, or it could actually be turned back into non-woven fabric to make new domestic PPE. And the reason why I bring it up is because the solution that we have for Feelgoodz, while it's not perfect because it is still an end-of-life solution, our hope is that as we continue to play with these materials and meet with different stakeholders in the sustainability space, we can actually create a solution that is a circular recovery solution to actually get that material back into the post-consumer space yet again, so that those motorcycle tires become spa slides and those spa slides become something else being recycled or repurposed again. So that's certainly what we're working towards, and that's the opportunity. And just as we're saying that, Kate Morrison from Ojai joined us. Perfect. So with that, I want to ask you just a little bit more, Kyle, because I think it's so fascinating that you were able to find this waste product and turn it into a sole. You said that you've got spa slides now, you've got slippers. What does the process look like when you're creating a new product, and how do you identify what sustainable materials can be put into that? What, in terms of the stakeholders that you need to go through and the innovation process? Can you give us just kind of like a quick overview of that?
Yeah. So, like Noel says, it starts with the customer. What is it in our brand that we are looking to bring to market? And I can give a really, really good example of that. We have a large portion of our customers that wanted a sandal that had arch support in it. So we had a podiatrist designed, sandal that first was made from genuine leather and then was made from vegan leather, but could never really get true transparency and never really felt that comfortable about it. Looking at the countries that we work in, for example, Thailand is one, Nepal, India, Turkey, Vietnam. The partners that we work with know that we're trying to innovate. We're trying to come up with, number one, a quality product that people are going to want and that people are going to, use over a good period of time. But how can we do it in just in an interesting, innovative way that in a sustainable way? And so, our supplier partners in Vietnam actually created an outsole that combines natural rubber with recycled rice husks. There's a huge rice husk issue in Vietnam as well. And our suppliers created a compound that combined natural rubber and rice husks, and the output of that is a higher quality product that makes it a little bit lighter and a little bit more flexible for your feet. So when you walk, it's got a little bit more bounce. So that was cool. And then, kind of from there, you look at what are the other materials that we want to use. And we came up with what we call the Zensole collection, which has the recycled rice husks and, and natural rubber and recycled yoga mats in the midsole. So that's just one example of the approach that we take when we go to, design and create new products. But it all has to be back of those two sort of, core pillars, does it align with the artisan project, and does it align with thoughtful materials? Is it going to be perfect? No. But is it done in a way that we're proud of? Absolutely. So, but that's just one small example of how we approach design and development, of our entire line.
Yeah, it's very inspiring. Yeah. So I want to get to a Q&A now. If anybody in the audience has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get to them. I want to ask you both, and feel free to kind of riff off of each other here. What was the biggest challenge that your particular organization encountered when you were trying to support the spa industry's environmental efforts?
I guess, I could start. I mean, I think, I mentioned before that, there's the concept of, okay, there's all this, excess waste in footwear production, can I somehow repurpose that and, make a product out of it? And the answer became yes. But then again, marrying that with what the needs are of the industry, and knowing that particularly for a back bar product, it gets a lot of wear, it gets a lot of use. And, I've already talked about Kate before, but she's gone through a few different iterations of the product, with us, because we created it from scratch. And, it's not perfect, but it has been a challenge to try, just to truly marry the needs of being able to say, look, we're doing this in a way that's really, really that we're proud of, and that's sustainable, and that is zero waste. Let's make sure that it actually is functional and works for you. So I think for us, it's probably been one of the biggest ones that we're continually trying to work through. Yeah. Noel, you're on mute.
Thank you. I would say for us, probably the biggest challenge was the misconception around donation. So when we rolled out Hospitality Life Cycle, and we were finding a lot of interest, but the challenges or the barriers were presented when it came to how much is it going to cost to get it recycled, and how am I going to get it there? So there's another cost. So as we dug a little deeper with our customers is, what are you doing with your products now? What do you do with your sheets? What do you do with your towels? And perhaps the same for you too, Kyle. Like, what are you doing with your sandals or your slippers, your slides? And the most common answer was, we're donating them. And they felt pretty good about that. And it's better than just throwing them in, but really it just defers the problem. And it doesn't ensure that there is, in fact, an end-of-life solution or thought to ensure, like, some accountability or responsibility to ensure it doesn't end up in the landfill. So it's basically passing off the problem. I would say that's probably been the biggest barrier for us to have any true impact, a volume impact with the industry, is around budget, but also that it still feels good to donate. But ultimately, all those yarns end up in the landfill. So I would say education. I mean, education, this is why I love Green Spa Network. This is an opportunity to educate, share our experiences, share not just the good stuff. These are the challenges. And like any entrepreneur will probably tell you, it's never perfect in the beginning, and that's okay. Sometimes our best partners are actually our customers, like what you just said, Kyle, working together with Kate. That's We do that all the time. And when COVID hit and the need for PPE, well, we were probably one of your biggest suppliers, Will, because we went into PPE because we worked really closely with our spa directors to find a design and a solution, but couldn't find an end of life for where do those go after they can't be worn anymore. So yeah, I'd say the challenges, misconceptions, donation is great, but the continent of Africa isn't even accepting garment donations anymore. So what does that tell you? It is a problem, not a solution. So passing it off any longer than we already have, I think there, again, that's where legislation is going to play a role. Corporations from hospitality all the way down to entrepreneurial type corporations will be governed. So this won't last that long, I don't think. And I mean, there's already talk about Europe. It's just around the corner where a lot of these, rules and regulations will be mandated and will be forced probably to take much more costly measures in order to deal with this. So I think being on the opposite end to being creative and innovating and a great partner with your customer and with your vendors to find the solutions. There are solutions there when you get great dialogue going and everybody's on the same page for the outcome.
Which leads me perfectly to my next question, Noel, which is, how do you find environmental inspiration in the work that you're doing? What gets you looking for those solutions?
We have a consumer direct brand as well that we started in 2011, Asmar Equestrian. And designing seasonal collections really opened my eyes to more the fashion world. And uniforms is a pretty sustainable business. We design for a use, you use it, you probably use it for 3 to 4 years, which means it's not getting dumped or repurchased too often. But you see in fashion, I mean, the bigger problem is the fast fashion. And our equestrian brand is very high quality. Now we are mostly sustainable yarns as well. And my inspiration really just comes from not being able to turn a blind eye to just read, just open up the news. And I consider we're directly contributing to the problem. So if anybody's involved in producing a product today, you can't, how long can we turn a blind eye? How long can we pretend it's somebody else's problem? So just be proud if you can take a step. Even us reaching out to dbrand, we were already working with dbrand for our own issues. Like, what do we do with product or, bolts of fabric that I couldn't use the rest of it, but didn't want it ending up in the garbage. You have to start somewhere. I always come back to that. And inspirationally, I want our company by the end of 2023 to be only using sustainable yarns. And it's a major job to transform all your fabrics into sustainable fabrics. So it's got to be a commitment. It's going to be a financial and a human resources commitment. And as long as you can get your team, and it's part of your values as a company, I find now I'm inspired by my team. I'll have a senior designer, she's found something or wants to change something because she's done her research and realized this doesn't contribute to our end game or end goal. It goes further than us as founders or leaders or spa directors. It's about inspiring your team, and then your team has the power to take it over the finish line.
Yeah, well said. And Kyle, I know you've obviously got a strong team that's helping you every day, as well as these artisans, as you call them, who are actually the ones crafting these products. And so I don't want to give you the answer, but I can only assume that those are the inspiring stories that kind of help you to try and source new things every day, sourcing better products and more sustainable design elements. But what else sort of fills your cup when you're in this world of sustainable design?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 3 things. I think one is the supplier trips, like you mentioned, being able to sort of be on the ground level with a group of artisans, Hmong artisans in Vietnam, and watching their craft come to life through hand weaving fabrics is one piece of it. The other piece is, kind of the heartbeat of it is really the team too. And I love, team inspires me. especially when, like Noel says, they're coming up with ideas and it's interesting to see to me what inspires them and to watch sort of them grow in the company. That inspires me. And then on the end of it is our customers. And I love it when I'm out in the wild and we'll see somebody that I don't know wearing the product. And sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling, I'll strike up a conversation with a stranger in an airport in Denver, and just be like, "Hey, how do you like your Feelgoodz?" And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, how do you like them?" "Yeah, I love them. These are my go-to." And then just sort of learning why. And the common theme is, I saw them at Whole Foods, and I love the comfort and I love the story behind it. I think you're doing something really cool. So this is my go-to, right? That'll keep me going too. So it's sort of three pieces that really drive me and keep me going with it all.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. And for me, similarly, I think it's being out there in the field and actually seeing the pride people take in having solutions for the craft that they're performing every day, whether you're a spa technician, a barber, a manufacturer of products, knowing that there's a group out there that's actually helping you to perform your craft sustainably. I think people are very appreciative of that, and that's what we hear from at Green Circle all the time. And similarly, seeing the stuff that people are posting on social, showing how proud they are to actually be recycling, I think that's what really fills my cup as well. So with that, we're going to do a quick breakout just for a few minutes here for the people who are here. I've got a few questions for you. I'm going to put them in the chat box, and I would encourage you to take these questions back with you and sort of continue to contemplate them as well. But what I'm going to be asking you to discuss with your group here are identify the 3 most commonly used textile items in your business. What are they composed of? What are you currently doing with them at the end of their life? And ultimately, after today's conversation, hopefully there's been some inspiration about, what opportunities might exist for textile recovery that you could consider. So with that, I think Dara's going to break us out.
And who wants to go first?
I'll just share, Green Circle being in the waste recovery business, we use a lot of materials, but it's materials that are being, sent to us. The one thing that we require a lot of as an organization to make that happen is cardboard. And so for some time, I've been, trying to work with our team on how we can get boxes shipped out more sustainably. Either reusable materials, and there's some really cool groups out there doing this with consumer fashion. So you've got a reusable shipping container. But ultimately, what I want to see is a more sustainable solution for the cardboard boxes that the slides are coming back to us in. That's something that I'm working on, and I think after today's conversation, I'm just inspired to really keep working on that with our team and understanding where the science is in logistics to continue to look for better solutions. Anybody else?
Well, I will share, and this is not about GSN business, but just on my small island where I live, we no longer put textiles into the regular garbage. They are collected completely separately and sent to America, as we say, where I'm not sure what happens to them, but they are no longer put into the regular garbage at all. So I find that to be interesting because it was clogging up, and it was a result of COVID. It was clogging up the landfill.
Huh.
Oh, you're all frozen.
Joanna, weren't you saying that?
I don't know if anybody heard me.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Joanna, can you hear me? No.
I can't hear you. I'm going to turn my camera off again. Okay.
I think she said she can hear you, Noel.
Oh, she can.
Yeah.
I can hear you now. I turned off my camera.
Okay, Joanna, what are you saying too? I think we caught up during COVID. You were saying that they actually created a like a pickup location, like a facility at the dump where they put all the garments so people could come in and take things away. Did is that right?
Yes, we do have that. It's called Take It or Leave It. But
Yes.
what was happening is so much stuff was coming in that now when they get rid of it, they no longer mix it with the regular removal of garbage.
Mm.
So we do that swap concept, right, with all textiles. But now there's so much of it that's coming and moving through that we are we're shipping them off island separately as a separate bulk item.
Oh, are there any spa directors on this call that would be willing to share what type of products they have? Kind of common textiles that are being used in your business?
I think we may have lost our spa directors.
Did we?
Yeah, I think so. That's okay. This is something that we can hopefully all take back into our lives and continue to ponder. Does anybody else want to share before we close this off? Okay. So I guess with that, my hope is that we've all heard enough about the conversation that we understand it's a kind of multivalent problem. There are a lot of layers to it. Certainly in an era where we have increased supply chain challenges, the environmental challenges are only compounded because now we have to measure the bottom line and getting these things to arrive to the right person on time against what we want to be committed to from a sustainability perspective. So while I appreciate that this is a big challenge and that there are no simple answers, I just want to encourage everybody to take this back to our organizations, continue to participate in these conversations. Like Noel and Kyle both said, we don't necessarily have to have the perfect answer right away, but it's really to be inside of the conversation and to be asking these questions and attempting to make a difference in the right direction. That's when these things are really going to present themselves and these opportunities will develop. So, and with that, we know so much of it is relying on science as it stands today and where we're able to take it into the future. So it's really, like Noel said, it's doing your research and working with, the different stakeholders that are looking to make a difference as well to kind of partner up. And I think that this is absolutely one of the things I love so much about the GSN Planet Group is that we have so many different stakeholders that are all united around this one goal of creating a more sustainable spa and wellness industry. So let's all work together and let's have these conversations so that we can continue to drive change in the right direction. So with that, I just want to say thank you all. Thank you, Dara, for putting this together, and Joanna. Thank you, Kyle and Noel, for sharing your insights. We did put some information here in the links, but if anybody wants to reach out to any of the participants here, we would encourage you to do so that we can continue this conversation. So thank you all. I hope you have a great rest of your day.